All right. Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going deep on heart attacks.
Ooh, that's a heavy topic.
It is, but super important, right? I mean, it's the leading cause of death worldwide.
It's true. Way more people need to understand this stuff.
Exactly, and that's why we're diving into this video today from the Institute of Human Anatomy.
Oh, yeah, I saw that when they actually dissect a real human heart.
I know, kind of freaky, but also fascinating to see it all up close.
Definitely. It makes it all so much more real.
So, to kick things off, maybe you can clarify something for me.
Sure. What's that?
Well, we all hear about heart attacks, but the video kept using the term myocardial infarction.
Ah, yeah. So heart attack is kind of the everyday term that everyone uses.
Right.
But myocardial infarction, that's the actual medical term.
Okay, is there a difference?
It is a bit more precise.
How so?
Well, myocardial infarction specifically means death of heart tissue
Oh, wow.
because it's not getting enough oxygen. So it really highlights the seriousness of the situation.
Okay, that makes sense. So, lack of oxygen, that's the root of the problem.
Yeah. And the video does a great job of showing us how that can happen.
Yeah, with all those visuals of the heart and blood flow.
Exactly, like a plumbing system gone wrong.
It's pretty wild to see all those chambers and valves working together.
It's intricate.
So let's break it down a bit. The blood starts in the right atrium.
Yep.
Then through the tricuspid valve to the right ventricle, right?
Right. And from there, it goes through the pulmonary valve and into the pulmonary trunk.
Which takes it to the lungs to pick up oxygen.
Exactly. And then the oxygen-rich blood comes back to the heart.
Into the left atrium.
Yes. Then through the mitral valve and into the left ventricle.
And the left ventricle is like the powerhouse, right?
It is. That's where it pumps the blood out through the aorta to the rest of the body.
To deliver all that lovely oxygen.
Exactly.
You know, one thing that really stood out to me in the video was the difference in thickness between the left and right ventricle walls. Like, the left side was way beefier.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's because the left ventricle has a way harder job.
Makes sense.
It's got to pump blood to the entire body.
Oh, right. Whereas the right ventricle just pumps to the lungs, which are right there.
Yep, much shorter trip. It's fascinating how form follows function.
It really is.
Yeah.
But hold on, before we get too far, there was this other point they made in the video that blew my mind.
Oh, what was that?
The heart actually gives itself oxygenated blood first. Like it prioritizes its own needs.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of like putting on your own oxygen mask on a plane before helping others.
Exactly. They used that analogy in the video, and it totally clicked for me.
Yeah, the heart knows that if it doesn't take care of itself first...
It can't take care of the rest of the body.
Exactly. It's a brilliant self-preservation mechanism.
But then it makes you think, what happens if something goes wrong with those coronary arteries, the ones that supply the heart itself?
Oh, that's when things can get serious.
Because if those get blocked...
That's how you get a heart attack. Or a myocardial infarction, as we should be calling it.
Right, right. And what causes those blockages anyway? The video mentioned cholesterol.
Cholesterol is a big one. Over time, it can build up in the arteries and form plaque.
Like gunk in the pipes.
Exactly. That narrows the space for blood to flow.
And less blood flow means less oxygen reaching the heart muscle.
Exactly. But it's not always just cholesterol.
Oh. What else can cause a blockage?
Sometimes it's a blood clot.
Like out of nowhere.
It can happen, especially if there's already some plaque buildup in the artery.
So it's like the plaque makes it more likely for a clot to get stuck.
Exactly. And when that happens, blood flow can be completely cut off.
And that's when a heart attack happens.
You got it. And that's why it's so important to understand not just what happens during a heart attack, but also what we can do to prevent them in the first place. But we'll dive into that a bit later.
Sounds good. Now, there's another piece of this puzzle we need to talk about. The heart muscle itself.
Ah, yes. The engine that keeps it all running.
Right. The video mentioned 3 types of muscle. Smooth, skeletal, and then there's the special one, cardiac muscle.
Right, each with its own unique properties.
So smooth muscle, that's the involuntary kind, right?
Yes, you find it in places like your digestive system, where you don't have to consciously think about making it work.
Okay, and then there's skeletal muscle.
Which is what you use to move your body. You have conscious control over that.
Makes sense. But cardiac muscle's kind of different, right? It's involuntary, but it's also got some similarities to skeletal muscle.
Yeah, it's a fascinating hybrid. And the coolest part is that it can actually excite itself.
What? You mean it doesn't need signals from the brain to contract?
Nope. It has its own internal pacemaker system.
So my heart is beating right now without me even thinking about it.
Isn't that amazing?
It is, and kind of creepy too when you really think about it.
Definitely a little bit of both. But that ability for self-excitation is what allows your heart to beat consistently without you having to consciously control it.
Okay, so we've got this incredibly complex and vital organ beating nonstop inside us. It really makes you realize how important it is to keep it healthy.
Absolutely.
Well, speaking of heart attacks, let's dig a little deeper into what actually causes them. We talked about blockages in the coronary arteries. But is it just cholesterol that causes these blockages?
Cholesterol definitely plays a big role. Over time, it can build up in the arteries, forming plaque that narrows the passageway for blood flow.
Right. We talked about that. But are blood clots the only other cause?
Well, those are the two big ones. But of course, there are other less common factors that can contribute to heart problems, like certain medical conditions.
Oh, right. So it's not always a simple answer.
Exactly. It's complex.
And that's why it's so important to work closely with your doctor to understand your individual risk factors.
Couldn't agree more. It's all about personalized care, right?
Absolutely. So we've talked about blockages being bad news.
Yeah, for sure.
But the video also mentioned that where that blockage happens in the coronary artery can make a big difference.
It does.
Like some blockages are worse than others.
Yeah, think of it like this.
Okay.
Imagine the coronary arteries as a network of roads, right?
Okay, I'm gone.
They're supplying different parts of the heart with that oxygen-rich blood.
Right.
So if you have a blockage on a small side street,
Okay.
it might cause some localized damage,
Right, like a fender bender.
Exactly. But the main traffic can still flow.
Got it.
But if there's a blockage on a major highway,
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
like near the beginning of the left coronary artery,
It's going to be a huge problem.
it is. Think massive traffic jam, potentially cutting off blood supply to a huge part of the heart.
So the location of the blockage is like a domino effect.
Yeah, the closer to the source.
The bigger the impact downstream.
Precisely. And the videos specifically mention blockages near the apex of the heart as being especially dangerous.
The apex, that's the pointy bottom part, right?
It is, and it's a critical area.
Why is that?
Well, that's where the left ventricle contracts the strongest to pump blood out to the rest of the body.
Oh, right.
So a blockage there is like cutting off the fuel supply to the heart's main pumping station.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've got these blockages. They're cutting off blood flow, and that means heart muscle is dying.
Unfortunately, yes.
But can that damage be reversed? Like, can the heart heal itself?
That's the thing about cardiac muscle cells. They can't regenerate.
Wait, what? So once they're gone, they're gone?
Yeah, which is why it's so crucial to act fast when someone is having a heart attack.
Because the longer you wait?
The more damage occurs.
Oh, wow. There's a saying, right? Time is muscle.
Exactly. Every minute counts in getting treatment to restore blood flow.
So the faster you get help, the better the chances of saving heart muscle.
Absolutely. And minimizing long-term damage.
Okay, this is all starting to make a lot more sense. So let's say someone ISF having a heart attack.
Okay.
What are the signs? Besides the classic pain radiating down the left arm, I mean...
Right. So that is a common symptom, but it's not the only one.
Okay, what else should we be looking out for?
The pain can also go up into the jaw and neck.
Oh, wow.
Even into the back. And of course, there's often chest pain.
So not just the arm.
Right. It can feel like tightness, pressure, or squeezing in the chest.
So it's not always that dramatic clutching the chest and falling over thing you see in movies.
Nope. Symptoms can vary a lot from person to person.
Interesting.
Even between men and women.
Oh, really? Men and women experience heart attacks differently.
They can, yeah.
Right.
Men are more likely to have the classic symptoms we talked about,
Okay.
including shortness of breath. But women sometimes have less typical symptoms.
Like what?
Nausea, fatigue, or even just a general feeling of being unwell.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's important to be aware of that.
So basically any weird pain or discomfort in the chest, back, neck, jaw, or arms.
Especially if it comes on suddenly.
Better to be safe and get it checked out, right?
Absolutely. Don't hesitate to call for help if you're at all concerned.
Always better to err on the side of caution when it comes to your heart.
Definitely. And this whole conversation has been incredibly eye-opening, don't you think?
It really has. I feel like I'm finally starting to understand heart attacks,
Yeah.
on a deeper level.
That's great to hear. But remember, this is just the beginning of your deep dive into heart health.
There's always more to learn,
Absolutely.
especially when it comes to something as complex and vital as our heart.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
We have. It's been quite a journey through the heart so far.
We saw how the heart's plumbing works, all those chambers and valves.
And the coronary arteries, those lifelines that supply the heart itself.
Right. And how blockages in those arteries, whether from cholesterol or blood clots, that's what leads to a heart attack, or a myocardial infarction, as we learn to call it.
Exactly. And we know that time is absolutely crucial when a heart attack happens.
Every minute counts.
It does. Those cardiac muscle cells, they don't regenerate.
Right. So every second matters to minimize that damage.
Precisely. And I think the whole discussion about symptoms, that's been really important too.
It has, especially realizing that women might experience heart attacks differently than men.
Yes, absolutely. Awareness is key.
And not just being aware of symptoms,
Right.
but also being aware of the things we can do to prevent heart attacks in the first place.
Exactly. That's where it gets really empowering.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. The video focused on what happens during a heart attack, but what about prevention?
Great question. What can we do to lower our risk?
Right, because it's not like we're just sitting ducks here.
Not at all. We have a lot of control when it comes to heart health.
So what are some of the key takeaways?
Well, lifestyle choices play a huge role.
Lifestyle? You mean like what we eat and how much we exercise?
Exactly. What you put into your body and how you move it.
Right, it all affects your heart.
It really does. A diet full of fruits and veggies, whole grains, lean proteins that can help lower cholesterol and blood pressure, which are two big risk factors for heart disease.
So it's not just about skipping that extra slice of pizza.
It's about actively choosing foods that nourish and support your heart.
Making those heart-healthy choices a regular part of your life.
Exactly. And then there's exercise, regular physical activity.
Even just going for a walk.
Even a walk. Aim for at least 30 minutes a day.
Okay.
It helps strengthen the heart muscle, improves blood flow, and lowers stress.
Stress is bad for your host too, right?
Oh, definitely. Stress hormones can wreak havoc on your cardiovascular system.
It's amazing to think that just walking can make such a big difference in preventing a heart attack.
It really can. It's the small, consistent choices that add up over time.
And of course, there are the other biggies, like not smoking,
Huge one.
getting enough sleep, managing stress, and seeing your doctor for regular checkups.
Oh, so important. It's about being proactive.
Taking control of your heart health rather than just waiting for something to go wrong.
Exactly. Knowledge is power. And now that we have this knowledge,
We can use it to make informed decisions.
and hopefully live longer, healthier lives.
It's all about taking care of that incredible organ that's beating inside us every second.
Couldn't agree more. This deep dive has really given us a lot to think about, wouldn't you say?
It definitely has. We've explored the heart from its inner workings to the things that can go wrong.
And most importantly, what we can do to keep it healthy.
So to everyone listening, we encourage you to keep learning, keep asking questions.
And keep taking care of your heart.
It's the most important muscle in your body, after all.
Well, arguably the most important. It keeps everything else going.
That's true. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the heart, everyone.
It's been a pleasure.